Today we have a special guest called Willow.
Hello.
Willow.
Hi, Willow.
How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad actually. It took us an hour and a half to get this shit sorted.
Oh, I know.
We're here.
I know.
Because
Sound check.
Yeah, sound check. Fucking nice. Like 3 hours you had because I'm late. Right, speaking of being late, so today's topic is ADHD in adults. Obviously, this is quite a big one for me because I have it and I was diagnosed in September 2019. Since then, I've created a guest blog on ADHD, which you should check out if you can. Or if you've got like enough time to listen to me bitch about my ex-girlfriends for a long time. Shock. Right, anyway, Willow, tell us your journey.
Oh, my journey.
Your journey.
Well, I only really discovered I had it about 2 years ago, and it wasn't even me who discovered it. Basically, my boyfriend Tim was just like, I was just being a natural, like, chaotic me one day, and he's like, "Oh, do you know what? Do you have ADHD?" It's a joke, and we're like, "Okay, like let's Google it." Went on the NHS website, and I ticked off everything.
Yeah,
literally everything. Like
That feeling.
tick. I was like, holy shit! Like this is me. I am ADHD, and it makes so much sense because like impulsive, impatient, got so much energy all the time, poor attention to detail, everything I've got.
Everyone loves you, but no one really wants to employ you.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Managed to hold down a job, but it's a
Well,
thing.
well done. It's hard. It's really hard. I had a similar situation with when I discovered mine because actually I was in Chile on a job working on this project with a friend of mine, and we were and like every time the thing is that we would do these interviews as journalists, in the person we were speaking to would be Spanish. We'd be in a crowded cafe trying to sort of keep the recording devices on. I'm taking notes. Our translator wasn't that bothered about being there, so we would so there's like 15 different stimuli. And I just kept losing the thread of what was going on and zoning out, and it made me look unprofessional. So every time we'd have an interview, I'd have my friends have a go at me for fucking it up, basically. And I was like, I couldn't figure it out. And then the guy had read about ADHD and been using it to basically excuse himself from being an arsehole, which he doesn't have it, but he's an arsehole. So, but he was like, yeah, you have ADHD. And I was like, okay. And I was kind of scared to read about it.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Like, how old were you then?
I was 29. Yeah, I was just 29.
So
yeah,
about 2 years ago.
Yeah. So it was about a month before I was diagnosed, and then my best mate, and I, she got really tired because we were on these trains and everything all the time and traveling all the time. And after about 2 weeks of me doing it, she just went batshit, being like, "You're ruining the project. What the shit's going on with you?" I'm like, it's not my fault. I'm trying to concentrate, and I've been not fired, but left a job under certain circumstances. I was pushed out of a job basically before because of lack of attention to detail, things like that. But it doesn't make sense because you, as we were discussing before, you make all the effort and yet somehow you miss something. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, can I just saying something on that for like people who might not understand it? It's literally you could be looking at a number and you're convinced that's the right number. Like you checked it 3 times, you come back and then someone be like, "No, that's the wrong number." You'd be like, "No, I swear I checked it." It's crazy. It's kind of like you're blind to something.
Yeah. But then I found though that when they were trying to push me out, I spent a day just sitting down because I really cared about it. I sat down. I went through all of their I think they gave me a sort of a big investigation that was something like a 5-6 page document in which they basically put me on a performance improvement plan because of course I couldn't improve my performance because I have ADHD and I was undiagnosed. So when they put me through that plan, I was like, I went through all of the mistakes they'd made, destroyed them for it because I had the whole hyper-focus thing going on because it was really emotional for me. So I was like, no, I'm not going down like that. I'm going to go down fighting. I destroyed the fucker to the point that the woman who ended up trying to fire me, if I'd known I had ADHD and they'd still done that, I could have turned around. I had depression, I had anxiety because of them. And then, the whole thing was a mess. So for about a year.
Further, interrupt your story there, I just think it'd be very useful to go back through your journey of ADHD from a kid until now, issues you've had. So I know you two have had different journeys because you're self-diagnosed, right? You've been actually clinically diagnosed.
Yeah, but it costs £500. That's probably why most people don't get diagnosed.
Yeah, I want to go back to the beginning because I've known you for the past 10 years or plus from university, and I always thought you're a very interesting character, one of the most interesting characters I know. And I know from my personal experience that just due to you having this, we didn't know what it was at the time. It's the reason why in some cases you may have rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Obviously, I grew to love you, but other people may not. So, I think it's very important to go back to how you were in school and to how you are now?
I was always quite Marmite, a bit like Marmite. People either love you or they just think you're a twat. And unfortunately, I think that there's a lot of elements to ADHD, including social insensitivity. Like we have no third party perspective, so we therefore come across as insensitive, blunt, obnoxious sometimes, or like we don't care, when actually we care more than anyone in the room. Because I mean, when I was tiny, I would go around running up to people like, do you like me? Do you like me? Because I had no way of telling, and everyone else could understand. But
so how were you in nursery, for example?
I was fine. I mean, I got bullied consistently because I'd make myself continually vulnerable. And if you get RSD as well, which is rejection sensitivity dysphoria, where, for example, if you told me I was a twat, most people are like, well, he's a cunt, doesn't matter. But when you're in that kind of, it suddenly hits you. It's not all the time, but sometimes it will hit you, and it'll be a comment like, I remember when I was 16, this guy goes, it was his leaving due at this work thing. I don't remember the fucker's name, but I remember exactly what he looked like when he said, yeah, I've always thought you were a cunt. Anyway, goodbye. And off he went. And I was like, and it just stuck with me since I was 16.
And then did that make you think that other people thought you were?
Yeah, definitely.
See, that's what I get. Because if one person says that, you're like, oh, actually, all my friends hate me. You get really paranoid. You believe everyone's
I didn't think he was my friend. I mean, he definitely was my friend. But yeah,
I think that's actually quite normal for you. You start to wonder if there's something about you, if one person thinks something about you. I think that's quite normal.
Also, the other thing is that I always find myself in the most trouble, but I've not done anything wrong.
Yeah.
So this really weird thing where, for example, recently, both my friend and I have said that we're not going to pay this guy who wants to rip us off, basically. He's threatening to sue me. He's completely forgotten about her. And it makes no sense. It's like, what the fuck is that? I mean, obviously he doesn't have a leg to stand on. Otherwise I wouldn't talk about it. But he, this asshole decides that he's going to go for me. And it doesn't make any sense because he seems to think that for some reason, either I'm stupid or that I'm not, completely incapable of. Well, I mean, I know his address now. I know his company's default. I know that he's broken the law 3 times so far. Ooh. So I'll see him in court. But that's because I got upset and couldn't sleep for a night. And then the next day sat there and really nailed him. But I went all out, and I'm perfectly capable of, I have enough information now to really upset him if he messes with me again. But the point is that I shouldn't have to go through that process. And that is ADHD there. It is feeling threatened and then taking it to an extreme. And then potentially, while I would never act on it because I don't want to, it's having that power, but then never using it. And I think that that's where we get underestimated a lot, because and also I think that the executive functioning and everything like that, going back to what we're talking about with work,
So it's like attention to detail, I was saying, sort of like in job descriptions. Off point of that. It's like all job descriptions will say you need attention to detail. That could actually be impossible. Yeah. Like literally, so like as you were saying.
Without medication. And that medication can cost £100-200 a month if you're not on the NHS. So, which is expensive. It costs another £500 to just get diagnosed. Or I found it for £450. It was the cheapest I could find.
But that's I'm not going to do it.
I think it's very important for us to go through that entire purpose in a moment. But what were you like in nursery growing up?
I think I was always I've always been tried to be friends with everyone. I've been very outgoing, and it has made me very outgoing because I can see I'm chatty all the time, whatever. But what I think is interesting that is picked up more in boys, because girls are kind of seen as a characteristic trait. It's seen as being a chatty girl is quite normal, but when a boy's disruptive, it's kind of picked up on a lot more.
Being
so I
naughty,
think, but naughty. Whereas mine was more she's chatty, whatever. So it's kind of been pushed aside, and I think it's just seen as much more of my characteristic trait. So I've been very normal through school and stuff like that. Just got away with being chatty and very outgoing.
Right. So Les, how were you when you moved from nursery into school? Because there's always that period where you have to sit in front of the teacher, put your fingers on your lips and cross your legs on the carpet. How were you? Were you disruptive, or were you able to do that?
I think I was kind of every teacher's. I mean, I've consistently been a favourite of a lot, particularly female teachers. It's kind of hit and miss, but even at uni as well, because I think that we're naughty-ish but lovable as well. And as a teacher, I know that those are my favourite students as well. The ones who would act out a little bit, and you'd be like, and they'd be like, oh, sorry, miss. Kind of thing.
They care. Yeah. It's just it's innate to them.
Yeah, and it's fun and it's cute and it's great, but it is disruptive. I mean, it is difficult.
Yeah.
It is hard to teach students like that, and I think that a lot of teachers, especially when you're very bright like I am and like you are, Like, I mean, not to suck our own dicks or anything, but like, we are quite ADHD people tend to be very intelligent as well. So there's that kind of disconnect between you're intelligent, but why aren't you able to do these things? And that's so frustrating for us as individuals as well. So I would be top sets across the board, and yet my A levels were bollocks because I wasn't in the subjects I wasn't interested in or took for granted or coasted on. I fucked up. But for example, history, I've always been interested by, and I got the top mark in the country for a mock exam in that.
I think that's very.
This is the most YouTube thing we're ever going to do.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed our video. Please do like and subscribe.